All right, we're going to talk about Overpower, and then also there is mention of purple ISO level 4 and 5. And whenever there are new progression system, and this is simply a new progression system, generally new progression systems negatively impact free-to-play players. And I guess everybody has different experiences inside of, let's say, Alliance War and Crucible with playing against opponents that have much larger accounts. I know for me, I typically am playing against some of the largest accounts in Marvel Strike Force, not only in Alliance War, but directly in Cosmic Crucible. So this is something that potentially could negatively impact me. So we're going to go over and we're going to try to see who this is going to negatively impact the most. This does positively impact high spenders, the largest spenders of the game, because they're getting essentially a temporary bonus if they upgrade their accounts faster than the people they're playing against. As Marvel Strike Force has evolved over the past 7 years, so too has the complexity of powering up your characters. Character level recently reached 105, gear tier just hit 20, and ISO Purple will introduce level 4 and 5 later this year. Adding ability upgrades, combat modifiers, and game mode specific enhancements, the power landscape has become more intricate than ever. That's where the new Overpower system comes in. And for me, a lot of this is very similar. And the Overpower system really doesn't add anything. It's not new mechanics necessarily. It feels overly simplified. And it is that, exactly, just temporary boosts in power. Because when the community catches up to the top spenders, the boost essentially goes away. But in the meantime, people that advance their rosters faster to these various levels, which we're going to go over, are getting a temporary boost until the rest of the community catches up to them. Why overpowered? With so many layers of power progression, I don't feel like there really is. I feel like it's overly simplified in Marvel Strike Force. Actually, an unintended consequence has emerged. Character upgrades don't impact battles as much as they should. The hard-earned progress you make in leveling up, gearing, enhancing ISO 8 doesn't always translate into meaningful advantages in combat. As a result, battle results don't always reflect the effort you put into improving your characters. To help restore the significance of your character progression, we've designed Overpower, a system that ensures your progression matters more in battle. This doesn't require extra purchases or additional effort to acquire, simply amplifies the power you've already built. And maybe I'm a glass half full kind of guy, or if the community is going to look at this the way that they've worded it and say I'm just being overly negative, but I don't read this that way. I read that this is, if you don't upgrade your account quickly, you're going to be at a severe disadvantage to your opponent if they spend. That's the way I read this, but maybe I am being overly negative. Put down in the comment section if you think one way or the other. Battle boost for your roster. The Overpower system provides extra combat bonuses to characters when they face an opponent with a lower Overpower rank, whether they're attacking or defending. The best part, it's automatic. If you've already been powering up your roster, many of your characters immediately gain Overpower ranks at launch. Key benefits: restores the impact of character progression in battle, unlocks new layers of strategy with additional combat and stat bonuses, automatically scales as you continue investing in your characters, easier character progression as summarized into a single score. I do agree with this. I feel like it's a relatively simple system. Actually, when I first saw this, I was like, oh, this is really not new. It's just a temporary boost that gets equalized when people catch up to each other. At launch, Overpower featured 12 ranks with temporary locked ranks that become available in future updates. Characters automatically unlock these ranks by reaching specific milestones in character level, gear tier, and ISO 8. No additional purchases or separate progression paths are required. Expect more ranks to be added in the future as the game continues to progress. So let's talk about where we are today. You get to rank 8 when you get to gear tier 19. Then ISO Purple 3 takes you to 9. Rank 10 at 105. And not everybody's at 105, right? I do have a chunk of characters at 105 myself, but I'm sure there are people that have a lot more. And I think also with this new system, there were some characters I wasn't planning on taking to 105. I was going to leave them at 100, and now I'm going to have to reassess that. This is going to potentially incentivize me to upgrade characters that I wouldn't have necessarily upgraded. Gear tier 20. Now, this is where I think this is going to be bonkers. Is gear tier 20 is pretty scarce right now. I have one character at gear tier 20, and that is Odin. And I think a lot of people, or rather I know, most people don't have any. And so I'm not sure how this is going to play out in that, for me personally, that is. You know, if I have one character gear tier 20, but my opponent has dozens, because, you know, it's going to require 25 to get Professor X and then some, you know, that could be an issue. And we'll explain why. And then later, rank 12 will be at ISO 8 purple 5. Unattainable at launch. They said what? By the end of the year. Overpower in combat. During battle, Overpower activates when a character with a higher Overpower rank engages at lower ranked opponent. System does not activate or provide any bonuses when two characters have the same Overpower rank. Importantly, Overpower does not change a character's power level number. It only enhances the combat performance. Yeah. So where this system is going to come into play, and I'm sure they're going to explain it, is if you have a character at 105 and your opponent doesn't, there's going to be a difference of one Overpower. In this post, they're going to mention having multiple levels of Overpower, but the situation arrives when a character has an higher Overpower than the character they're attacking into, right? Overpower bonus. Overpower eventually introduced 3 tiers of combat bonuses. 2 of these tiers will not be available at the launch of Overpower. Before we dive into the details of these bonuses, let us summarize the intentions for the tier bonuses. Tier 1, a modest but meaningful boost to character power. You'll see the boost when one character is at maximum progression, is fighting a character that's behind in one area. As it's the most common situation, it shouldn't be a giant bonus, but it should feel good if you just upgraded that character 105 and finding someone that's still level 100, for example. So the way I see this is like someone takes their Odin to gear tier 20, and you know, there is a big stat boost going up to gear tier 20. I think it's almost 20%. Plus, you're going to be getting this Overpower. So this is going to make a very dominant character like Odin more dominant. Perhaps problematic. We'll have to see. I'm not sure. Tier 2 bonus, bigger bonus than tier 1. This will feel fairly strong in battle. A tier 2 bonus will be most commonly when one character is at maximum progression and fighting an enemy that is behind in 2 areas. Tier 3, biggest bonus of the 3 advantage, will feel very powerful in battle. While tier 3 bonus won't overcome a bad matchup, it'll make a difference in most battles. The attacker must be there 3 progression ranks behind for this to kick in. So you had a max progression character today, you would need to fight someone that's behind in all 3 progression tracks. Situation won't be common, especially prioritizing modes you want to be competitive, such as War or Crucible. So where I see this being potentially an issue is that logically, I'm going to be upgrading the best characters in my roster first. You know, how far deep in my roster am I willing to upgrade, you know, the number of characters that I use in War or Cosmic Crucible? You know, if we look at War, let's say, you know, the 10 teams on defense and then maybe 14 teams on offense. You know, if I want to be competitive War, do I want to take up all of those characters? Probably not. Do I want to take up Odin? Absolutely, right? Crucible, it's less so that much. You know, it's 6 on defense and then, I don't know, maybe 10 on offense, you know, that I would consider. But characters that I'm not upgrading are going to fall off. And not only the characters that are not upgraded going to be less good, obviously, but they're also characters that I wouldn't want to upgrade. So people are going to upgrade the good characters. They're not going to upgrade the bad characters. And so the good characters are going to smash on the bad characters even more. 1 Overpower rank higher, 50% damage, 50% focus. To allow players time to adjust, only tier 1 bonuses will be active at launch, provides an opportunity to evaluate the impact on battles before the additional bonuses become available in future updates. So going back to my Odin situation, right? My Odin potentially could have a 20% stat increase just by going to gear tier 20 from gear tier 19, and be getting 50% damage and focus to every character that is not. So this is going to make the strong characters significantly stronger when they're upgraded over the characters that aren't. I'm not taking every character to 105. I'm not going to be taking every character to gear tier 20. In fact, characters that I take to gear tier 20 first are mostly going to be dictated by the requirements to get Professor X. So if we look at City being the first block of gear tier 20s to go through in Professor X, you know, the suggestion has been that, you know, Blade, Oath, and Vigilante. Well, I mean, you know, maybe if if I was trying to just play the progression system, maybe I would be doing other characters before those, right? I'm not sure how effective the Vigilante team is going to be. We don't know. And then certain players are going to be ready to go on day one and other players are not. And that's going to be a function of spending, right? So we'll have to see. All right. Strategy is still key, though impactful. This new Overpower system won't display synergies, character kit abilities, and counters, which is the backbone of Marvel Strike Force. I agree. So teams will still counter stronger teams in the right matchups and achieve exciting punch-ups during battle. And I feel that's kind of what they're trying to do in Marvel Strike Force lately. I sense that they want to design a character and they don't want outside thinking and matchups to still work. And this system should shut that down. And I think they're going in the direction of making the characters team specific and game mode specific so that the new teams will excel in only one lane rather than multiple lanes. And this is a departure from other teams. And if we're just talking about raid teams, let's say, you know, Orcus is good in a lot of different places of the game, and so is Night Stalkers. And I think going forward, that may not be the case with the new teams coming out. They're probably only going to be good in one area. Theory, crafter, strategy, and learning about team counters will always remain a vital part of the game. Feels like they're trying to stifle that a little bit. And I know when I read the Player Voice Council notes on their conversations with Scopely, their notes reflect a lot of the same concerns that I do. Like, it's interesting that they have the same thinking and thoughts and objections to what the direction of the game looks like to be going. Overpower won't guarantee a victory. All right. Well, so they're just saying that you can't brute force things and still get boosts with the thing. So maybe this isn't all bad. Like I said, maybe I'm being half full, but we'll have to see. Overpower is not a not a substitute for a skillful team selection in your combat decisions, but it can give you an advantage by ensuring that progression you put into your character is more powerful. So this is going to be in PvP at launch. Overpower will be exclusive to PvP game modes where roster investment truly shines: Alliance War, Crucible, Arena, Real-Time Arena. In the future, Overpower will expand into PvE game modes, but for now, it's time to harness your roster's full potential in PvP. And this will be going live on April 7th. All right, we'll have to see. Maybe I'm being overly negative. I think one of the things that concerns me, and you know, it's like when I compare my roster to other people, let's say in my alliance, so people that have similar spending patterns and play styles and intensity, largely our rosters are identical. With the only exception being is what we select on ISO and maybe team positioning, but that's it. So this really does not provide any customization to characters or ways of customizing the way that characters work, leaving the rosters pretty much being the same as it is now. So we'll have to see how this really plays out. I just feel like this was a somewhat plain and ordinary system, but I want to check it out. Maybe I'll really dislike this in a month, or maybe I'll be okay with this. We'll have to see. Let me know what you think. Bye for now.